Yes.
Moore,
Here.
Prusader,
Here.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen is absent.
Okay, great. We're going to move to the approval of the agenda. First, I want to let everybody know that we're removing item 9A, the final plat approval. So what I'd like is a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So move. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Next, we're at public comment. Is there anybody present that has any comments with regard to any of the issues that are dealing with the city at this point? No cards there, so hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. So I need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda, which includes the following: the minutes from the January 23rd, 2023 regular meeting, and the Quick Star number 717 Class B retail alcohol license effective April 1, 2023 through March 31, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Sorry, Deb. Oppose? Hearing none, that passes 6-0. Next, we move to the approval of the claims. Has everybody had a chance to look through those? The biggest item there, or one of the bigger items there, was the Highway 150 project, which the payment to Dave Smith Construction for $59,721.75. This is not the complete final bill we'll have on that. We've still got a holdback of 5% for additional items. And when Mr. Crawford decides it's time for us to pay that, we will. Any other comments or questions or anything else about the claims aspect? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the next. I'm sorry.
Then nobody made a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I
I'll second the motion.
have a motion and a second. This is a consent, so all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Again, it passes 6-0. Thank you, Susie. Next, we move to the bank reconciliation on the financials. This would be for information and discussion. Is there anybody that has any questions or about those particular financials, revenues and expenses to date?
No, but Susie, I really commend you. I mean, it takes a lot of extra time, I'm sure, but that really is, it makes things much clearer.
Thank you.
Next, we will move to the petitions from the public. We're going to start with the Independence Fire Department request. I need a motion to approve the Independence Fire Department request to close 4th Street Southeast on February, I'm sorry, 4th Avenue Southeast on February 21st, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for their soup kitchen.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion with regard to that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Passes 6-0. Next, we move to hearings and ordinances. We'll start with the, pursuant to the agenda, I'm going to convene a public hearing now for the Independence CV Downtown Revitalization Project. This is for the Phase 1 facade work that we have. Isaiah Corbin from Intercog is here. If anybody has any questions with regard to, or comments with regard to that particular project that's going on. Isaiah, my understanding is this is the first phase here has been going very well. We are expected to finish everything by May the 5th. Is that still on target?
That is correct.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for him in terms of,
Have any other downtown merchants solicited the opportunity to join this?
We haven't quite got to that point. Are you saying if you wanted to do another CDBG downtown application? I don't think it's been a point of discussion to be able to move on to a second application. So a phase 3, and in your case, we would have to close our regular DTR before we could do the application. Yep.
we'd still like you to, I know it's a far-fetched cry in the wilderness by us, but I know you can't do the lower areas closer to the river because of the flood.
Correct.
But we're hoping that somehow maybe we could convince them to do the upper on there, which would not be something that would be involved, and it would sure make the downtown area look better. So I don't know who you can talk to, but if you tell them that we would be interested in something like that if it were possible.
Sure, and I can definitely look into the upper story. We can't do, the regular facade in some of those farther areas closer to the river because of the 100-year floodplain, for obvious reasons, because the federal government doesn't like investing their money within the floodplain. So, but I think the upper story rehab are obviously great opportunities, especially as you're thinking about improving your downtown. And everyone's looking for housing and different types of housing. So, yeah, I can definitely look into that for you.
Thanks, Isaiah. Any other comments with regard to the Phase 1 of the downtown revitalization project? Hearing none, I'll now close the public hearing, and the city clerk will note any comments for the record. We'll move to item B now, which is the, pursuant to the agenda, I will now convene the public hearing on the Independence Downtown Revitalization Project. This is Phase 2. Again, my understanding is that we're shooting for August, is that right, of this year?
Yep, so the difference between the Phase 1 is that was provided through the COVID funds, so there is a shorter time frame. So that's why that one has the May 5th time frame. So we got to get that one done relatively soon, which the Cornerstone, which are the contractors, are on course for that. Phase 2, we actually have like 3 years on this, so we're going to finish way in advance, but the contract is set to end in August. It's actually probably more likely will be done closer to the July timeframe, so they're both kind of moving on the same course, so.
Any other questions or comments with regard to the Phase 2 of the revitalization project?
And I just want to state for the record, for both these public hearings, I do have a handout if anyone's interested on updates in terms of the full budget and where we're at in progress. I know it's in the agenda items, Susie put that in.
It's in your packet.
But if anyone from the public wants a copy of that to see where we're at in terms of the budget, the progress, what we've been working on, some descriptions of what's left to be done, they can certainly reach out to Susie and get that information as well, so.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? We'll now close the public hearing, and the city clerk will note all comments for the record. Isaiah, thank you so much for coming out. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll next move to, under hearings and ordinances, C, which is the fire service fees and charges. This is a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance that adds a new section, 35.15, to the Code of Ordinances for the fire service fees and charges. So first I need a motion and then a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we talked about this at Committee of the Whole, so I think everybody's familiar with what we're doing. It doesn't affect all service calls that the fire department makes. It only involves particular ones where there's a possibility of collecting the money back. Is there any other discussion or questions about this particular motion?
The only discussion I would have is can we move to expedite that process and
We can.
forego the second readings?
Yeah, we'd have to do it in order, but yet, as long as, it has to be a unanimous, so if there's anybody here on the council that would be opposed to expediting that, if you let us know, then we won't bother with the second motion. Hearing none, let's move forward then with the first.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I need
It's a roll call.
for- Houston,
Go ahead.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Next, I'd like a motion that the statutory rule requiring that an ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting in which it's finally passed be suspended. First, I need a motion
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And I take it there's no discussion with regard to that, so again, that would be a roll call vote.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Now I need an actual motion to have this ordinance that adds new section 35.15 to the Code of Ordinances New section, fire service fees and changes be placed on its final passage for adoption pursuant to Iowa Code Section 380.3. First, I need the motion.
So,
I have a motion and a second by Brian.
Second.
So this is again a roll call vote.
Moore,
yes.
Pursader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
yes,
That also passes 6-0. Next, we'll move to item C, which is the fiscal year 2024 budget. So pursuant to the agenda, I'm going to now convene a public hearing for the maximum property tax levy for the fiscal year 2024 budget. So we're now in a public hearing. Anybody have any comments with regard to the max levy or the issue about it?
Has there been any determination, I couldn't find anything, have they passed the refill for their mistake?
They haven't passed anything that I'm aware of, and the latest that I'm aware of on it is that they pushed the date back to the 30th of April. But that's still not, I don't know that that's actually completely through the process either. That's just what
Does
they're
that change our
proposing.
date of,
It's supposed, so the rollback thing is supposed to be voted on tomorrow, or there's a discussion tomorrow at 3:45 on
it's
it.
still in committee?
It's still, yeah, it's still in committee. Basically, city clerks were advised to just do your budget like normal,
Okay.
because we don't know how this is
So are we
really.
going to be held harmless then if we have to come up with?
We were already having to use fund balance for our budget, for our general fund, so it's just gonna be a bit more fund balance, but
Well, I don't think it really affects this particular one because we're talking about the maximum levy, and we know we're not going to reach the maximum levy. So
Yeah.
this is just a formality that the state of Iowa makes us go through. So, okay, if there's nothing further in terms of discussion, I'll now close the public hearing. The city clerk shall note all comments for the record. Next, we move to, there's no vote there of any kind, right?
nope.
Okay, next we move to item B, which is a resolution to approve the max levy for the fiscal year 2024 SF 634 maximum levy budget. So first, I need a motion to approve the resolution approving the max levy for the fiscal year 2024. Thanks.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. A roll call on that, please.
Pursader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore.
Yes.
Okay, next we move to item C, which is to set a public hearing date for the fiscal year 2024 budget and budget transactions. So I need a motion to set a public hearing date of March the 13th, 2023, 4:45 PM. So it's at 15 minutes before our regular time, at City Hall Council Chambers for approval of the fiscal year 2024 budget and budget transactions.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. This would be
Consent.
consent agenda, so all in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next, we'll move to item 7, which is the 12th Street Northeast Storm Sewer Improvements Project. Pursuant to the agenda, I'm going to now convene a public hearing for the 12th Street Northeast 2023 Storm Sewer Improvements Project. Is there any public comment or any discussion with regard to this particular project at this time? Hearing none, I'll now close the public hearing, and the city clerk will note the comments that don't exist. So next, we'll move to item B, which is a resolution approving and confirming the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 12th Street Northeast 2023 Storm Sewer Improvement Project. So I need a motion to make that, to approve that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion with regard to that project? I know we've talked about it before, but if anybody has anything further at this time, hearing nothing, that's a roll call vote then.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Pursader.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. We'll now move to item 7? 7C, which is the consideration of the bids for the 12th Street Northeast 2023 Storm Sewer Improvements Project. So we have the bids in, and I think everybody has seen them. And we have a letter of recommendation from Crawford Engineering with regard to the bid tabulation already. So that's the discussion information. Anybody want to talk about that any further? Okay, so then we'll move to item D, which is a resolution approving the contract for the 12th Street Northeast 2023 Storm Sewer Improvements Project. I need a motion to approve a resolution approving the contract for the 12th Street Northeast 2023 Storm Sewer Improvements Project to Bowker, B-O-W-K-E-R Mechanical, with a bid of $226,894. Do I
So
have-
move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion about that? Move then to the roll call vote.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Okay, it passes 6-0. Next, we'll move to item 8, which is the 2023 Street Rehabilitation Project. So first, I need a motion to approve a preliminary resolution pursuant to Section 384.42 of the Iowa Code covering the 2023 Street Rehabilitation Project.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion with regard to this particular resolution and the preliminary improvement of this project? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote on that, please.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Next, we have a resolution approving and adopting the preliminary plans and specifications, estimate of cost, and plat and schedule. So I need a motion to approve the resolution approving and adopting preliminary plans and specifications, estimate of cost, and the plat schedule.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion with regard to to this aspect? Hearing none, we'll move to the roll call vote on that.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Next, we move to the introduction of the proposed resolution of necessity, which sets the date for hearing thereon. So I'm looking for a motion to approve an introduction of the proposed resolution of necessity, setting the date for hearing, which would be March the 13th of 2023, 5 o'clock PM.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. So this is the step before the actual letters go out to the homeowners who would be involved with the projects as they are starting out. So that would be any other discussion with regard to that? That's a roll call vote then.
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen, absent, Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
yes,
That also passes 6-0. Now we move to Resolution 9B. We're skipping A, as you recall, which is a resolution approving a moratorium on the issuance of various sign permits. So I'd like a motion to approve a resolution that approves a moratorium on the issuance of various sign permits.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. In terms of discussion, I know we've discussed this, but there's two things that are going on here. One is that we're in the next item C, we'll be talking about a resolution scheduling a public hearing for an amendment of Article 17. The resolution that's currently before you, its purpose is to have a moratorium so nothing can happen between now and the time period when you have a chance to actually vote on the amendments to Article 17 once the public hearing's been held. So if there's no further discussion on that, that's a roll call vote.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to item C, which is a motion to approve a resolution that sets a public hearing date of February the 27th, 2023, 5 o'clock PM for the proposed ordinance to amend Article 17 of the City of Independence zoning ordinance code regarding signage.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion with regard to this topic? Hearing none, roll call vote on that, please.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
That also passes 6-0. Next, we move to item D, which is the Administrative Services Agreement. I need a motion to approve the Administrative Services Agreement with Mission Square. First, I need the motion.
So move.
And a second, please.
Second.
Okay, now, the purpose of this is a 401K retirement plan, and this is specific,
401A.
sorry, 401A retirement plan. This is specifically for the city manager as part of his package that when he was hired. We already have Mission Square doing 457 accounts for other city employees, so there's no extra cost to the city at all, but we need to have an administrative services agreement in place. So that's what that's what you'll be voting on. Is there any further discussion with regard to that? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Callahan?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-0. Next, we move to item E, which is a motion to approve a resolution setting March the 13th of 2023, 5 o'clock PM for a public hearing on proposals to enter into a general obligation corporate purpose loan agreement and to borrow money thereon. First, I need the motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion with regard to this. I know we talked about this in Committee of the Whole previously. We've gone over the different types of possibilities for items that we need, and at that time, everybody seemed to be in general approval of that. Is there further discussion about it at this time?
My only question is, Susie, does this fit within the scope of the budget we've outlined so far?
So then I need a roll call vote on that then.
Houston?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Callahan?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to other business. Engineer update. Mark Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the city clerk for keeping this item on the agenda. Really, the only update I have for you is you've taken action on in previous items, so unless there's any questions, that's really all I have.
What was the engineer's estimate before we got the bids?
300, for the sewer project, 328,000.
So we came in a little bit under the estimate, so
correct.
that was good.
Yep.
Mark, I know that we emailed about this specifically, but I want to make sure, when we talk about the Highway 150 project and the final payment, we will be getting a reduction for the time that they were over in term, when
Correct.
they didn't complete the project in the time we had set.
Yes, that's correct. So they did extend past their completion date by a few days, and so that penalty that was outlined in the contract will be enforced. We are in the process of compiling a change order that will take that reduction into account and then be processed as part of the final paperwork on the project.
When do we expect the final paperwork on the project for 150?
Well, we're kind of waiting because we have some seeding that we want to see if it takes. It was put down late in the year, and we certainly don't want to leave the folks along the south segment with an unsightly situation. So we want to make sure that that seeding that was dormant seeded does come up in the spring. So we're probably looking several months from now for that to happen, because if it doesn't take, we will need the contractor to come back in and apply some new seed. Again, we want to leave them in as good a condition as we can, because that was finished up late in the year. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
You did.
that's really the thing that we're waiting on.
The other question I had was with regard to the, what we just passed in terms of the new sewer project, the 12th Street.
Yes.
I know that the contractor's just gotten the approval on this, but do you have an expectation as to when work would start and how long work would be involved in that?
So the next item of business for us will be to get construction contracts and have those back in front of you for formal approval, and then we'll set a date for a pre-construction meeting. At that pre-construction meeting, we'll ask the contractor to present their schedule, and that will outline when they intend to begin and end the project. We do have some caveats in the project for them that they must work around fair time. So our initial conversation with the contractor about that is that they want to move in and be done before the fair starts. But outside of being any more specific than that, we don't know just at the moment.
Very good, thank you. Anything else for Mark? Mark, thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we move to item 10B, which is the MSA Professional Services Agreement. This item was previously tabled at the meeting, so in order to have any further handling of this, first I would need a motion to take the tabled item off the table.
So move.
I have a motion. I need a second on that.
Second.
And then I need I need a majority vote to pass to take it off the table. So do I do that by consent? Is that okay?
I mean, can we do consent?
yeah.
Okay.
So then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. We're now, it's now taken off the table, so we're now in, the previous motion that's already been made and seconded, so we're now, whether there's any discussion regarding this, I want to point out that we've had some discussion about what this is. It's an updated service agreement itself. We're not requesting any work. There is no upfront cost. This is just a rate structure itself. Any other questions or comments about that?
I spoke with Mr. Foley today, and he knew I had some qualms about this. And it sounds like I'm very pleased with it. They can work with this company. They're looking at doing some of their own GIS work down the line and incrementally becoming more self-sufficient in this regard and for
Yeah,
mapping and so forth.
Yeah, the better our department can be in terms of this,
Yeah.
that's all the better for the city, so,
They're accessing the data that they need on their own time.
thank you, Mike. Okay, so then, if there's no further discussion, this would be a roll call vote then on this?
Hannah,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. We next move to item C, which is the home occupation application. I need a motion to approve the home occupation application for Mr. M. Henry. First, I need the motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a hydrographic dipping program, which is, they're proposing, they're over in the area on the other side of
River's Edge.
River's Edge. If anybody's interested, this is a brochure that they had. This has gone through, this has already gone, can you pass it over to Tom? This has already gone through Planning and Zoning. Planning and Zoning has approved it. Originally, Planning and Zoning looked at it, and they wanted more information, so Mr. Henry came in and gave a presentation to the Planning and Zoning Committee at their last meeting. We've determined that there isn't any hazards that would be involved at all in the process that they're doing. And so the Planning and Zoning did approve this. So any further discussion with regard to that?
That was my question, is if there's any hazards.
No, that was the concern that Planning and Zoning had initially, because they didn't want to just approve it without having more information on that subject. So that's why they had him come in live and talk to him about the permit that he was requesting.
Okay.
Let Mike have a chance to look at that, and then if there's no further discussion, then we would move to a roll call vote on that. Deb, you can't see it, but there's a large number of items that they have that they basically dip into some kind of a solution, and as a result of it, I don't know, how would you describe it?
It's a film that goes on top of the water, that they dip into the film and then gets adhered to whatever product they're dipping into that.
It's basically putting a sticker,
Right.
simplicity, Deb, on different items.
Okay, so roll call vote on that then?
Moore,
Aye.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
yes,
Passes 6-0. Next, we move to item D, which is the fiscal year 2024 street sweeper with VAC. I need a motion to approve the street department to start the process to purchase an Elgin Whirlwind 1 street sweeper with VAC.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. The purpose of this being on the agenda at this point is we're a ways out from being able to make a purchase on it, which we'd have to ultimately approve. But we want to keep our position in line in terms of the order process. If we didn't pass this, then we'd have to go back into line later on, and by the time, it would just put too much time in terms of being able to accomplish this. There would be a trade-in of the old one as part of the purchase price on this. So any questions about that at this point in time? Any other comments? This would again then be a roll call vote.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore.
Yes.
Passes 6-0 also. Move to item E, which is the Independence Light and Power Billing Agreement. I need a motion to approve the 2023 agreement for billing services and water meter reading with the,
Oh,
thank you.
sorry.
With Independence Light and Power.
So moved.
Discussion with regard to this.
They've done a good job.
Hearing
The
no,
only discussion I have is, for the general public is when they see that bill, they'll think it's huge, but it's very inexpensive in the long run when you consider what we would have to have in staff to do it, all the equipment we would need and everything. It's far cheaper to pay them than for the city to take it on.
Good
Agreed.
point.
Okay, roll call vote then.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. We now move to reports. Council member reports. Start with you, Jen.
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay,
All is well.
all is well.
Nothing at this time?
Brian,
Good, Mayor, thank you.
Mike?
Let's support the chili supper for the fire department. It's a great worthy cause, and it's always nice to see members of the community, too.
Absolutely. Deb, do you have anything?
nothing,
Okay, Mr. City Manager, do you have anything at this point?
I do. On Saturday, the 25th of February, the Chamber of Commerce is going to have their annual awards celebration out at the Ag Center out here. It's at 6 o'clock that evening. We do have 4 seats for that event. I'm planning to go, so that leaves us with 3, unless somebody tells me not to go and you guys want to go. So I need, if anybody's interested in attending that, if you would email me and let me know, then I can get, or let me know tonight.
You should.
Yeah.
It'd be a good
Yeah.
way for you.
It
to-
said it's the 25th.
Yeah, February 25th at 6 o'clock.
Okay, February. Yep.
Yeah,
Anything else?
that's all I've got.
Susie, do you have something? Quickly, this coming Saturday, February the 18th, the Community Visioning is having their workshop. This is something that's open to the public. It's open to all of you as well. We have given, will have given, listed it as a potential meeting, so all council can attend. There are different, these are focus groups. We also have focus groups going on with the school itself. We've got a group of 13 and under, and we've got a group of 13 and over. And then we've got the mobility impaired, we've got older adults, 65 and over, we got parents, active recreationists, and then the steering committee itself. So this will be at MHI, the Reynolds Building. Like I said, it starts on Saturday, February 18th. The first sessions are at 9 o'clock, second sessions at 10:15, with the steering committee meeting at 11:30.
And the Reynolds Building is a large castle-like building in the central part of the campus, and you enter through the front door. You'll go past the switchboard.
And MHI has also agreed to give a tour to anybody that's interested in having a tour of the grounds and the buildings while they're there. So just wanted to let everybody know about that. This, by the way, is part of our First Street West Corridor grant that we received, that we applied for and saved the money that we had planned on spending on the grant itself. So this is part of that process, and it's the early part of the actual focus groups that will ultimately determine some of the things that are going to happen within the city. Second thing is the police station update on the work. They're moving right along. Larson is moving along very quickly. They're already doing drywall installation and the mechanical rough-ins. So we're way on target and hopefully ahead of target. So it looks real good like now, and they're doing a good job. They're supposed to provide me some pictures that they took today, so I'll post those on Facebook as soon as I've gotten them from them. That's all that I had.
Dave had something.
Oh,
I got some more updates on that.
okay.
So,
Chief?
yes,
before
yes,
you
go ahead.
Mike, is there going to be some signage out at MHI to show where to go?
I don't know the answer to that.
No, I doubt there is. But once you drive on the Horseshoe Drive,
Yeah,
and once you get toward the main castle building, it'll say Reynolds Building right there. And the front doors, it's obvious, they're 2 huge glass doors and stuff. It'll say entrance,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So you just enter there and then,
Go
You'll-
past the staircase.
I know that they had an article in the Bulletin Journal.
Yeah.
Did they say what time?
Yeah, it's not 9 o'clock for the older adults and the mobility impaired, and parents and active recreationists and businesses are at 10:15, so they're 45-minute sessions.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, they're an hour and 15 minutes.
15, yeah.
An hour sessions, I guess there are. Okay, Dave, go ahead.
So on the building, I wanted to advise you, because we talked about the cost on that bid versus where we were at. And so far in savings, we found some savings in the floors. The tile, we've come to a way to minimize our cost on tile due to the fact, instead of replacing a whole floor where there was an area taken out, where there was a wall where that used to be, we're just gonna put blue tile through there for thin blue line in the room. It's not an officer's room, it's like the armory and some of those places, so we have identified that. The carpet that I picked out, if you've ever been to the public health conference room, that was the same carpet that I liked. I thought it was great. It actually came in what they already had allotted for their carpet, so they're gonna try and get that as well. The furnaces and the air conditioners, they're still trying to go down on their numbers on that. And then related with that, they had in there, like, I think it was like $8,000 for a study to determine how much air was getting pushed around before, when we don't even know if those furnaces and air conditioners are any good. So we squashed that pre-study, and then knowing that on the back end, Matt and I talked about this, on the back end, $8,000 goes a long way if we have to go in and change a ductwork here and there, or change a damper or something like that. So we did that. The signage out front was not, there was an allotment within the bid for that, but the signage bids came back fairly high. So we're gonna look and see where that's at. I still haven't made up my mind. We may end up just painting that ourselves and having signs and more put in new inserts and doing, if the electricity out to that isn't any good, we may end up just doing solar lights if we have to for a while, until we can re-look at that later on down the road. Cabinet fixtures. So those cabinets, if you were ever in there, they had a pull style on all the cabinets and the drawers. Those are plastic, those were routed inset. So part of the problem was we couldn't find anything. So they had, I think they had $800 in there to buy new fixtures. Well, you can't find them. So what I did over the weekend, last week, I bought a can of plastic coat spray paint from True Value, went home and ran a test sample on one of them, took it back up and showed them what I had done. And they said, "Who did that?" And I said, "I did." And they all laughed at me. They said, "You got this done professionally." I said, "No." I said, "This is easy." So we're going to find that cost savings there. We're just going to do those ourselves. Probably cost us about $60 worth of paint from True Value, and we're just going to do that on our own. Under cabinet lighting, we tried to find some cost savings there by switching out or leaving what we had, but the contractor only gave us a $900 deduction off of like a $2,200 item. So we said, just go ahead and replace them then with the LEDs. The overs that we found so far, the water heater wasn't put in there by Modus as to be replaced. And looking at the water heater, it was probably 10 years old and it sat for the last 7. So instead of monkeying around with that later on, we're gonna be upwards of $2,000, I think, on a new water heater. We're just gonna do that. And I think that savings is gonna come from that heating and air conditioning side that we've already got. And then the water fountain, it was bid in as a part of the plumbing installation bid, but not as a piece. And originally, I had talked about it just as early as this morning, and then I got to the site and found it had already been plumbed in. So it's already plumbed in, so I think we're gonna look at just keeping that as is, because it's already plumbed in. But I'm also gonna make sure on the cost that we're not too much on that cost. If we are, I'm gonna have them cap it off, wall it up, and then we can do it later on if we had to.
Do they plumb it in the
In the entryway. But then again, we are a controlled entryway.
Yep.
So if we have to, we can go out there and get water from it. The water cooler in the back for the people is fine. But I'm gonna make sure that we're not anything over about $1,500 on that. Originally, they were talking about close to $3,000. And if it's that, I'm gonna have them cap it off. The electricity isn't run for it yet, and we'll wall that off.
Good.
That's not a problem. Other possibles. Number one, Todd was at the site today. There's some insulation under that crawl space on the east side that's got some mold on it. At minimum, we should remove that insulation. At maximum, we should get in there and do some remediation. I'm going to work with Todd to identify who we can call in and take a look at that and see what the cost is on that. At minimum, we're going to have to remove that insulation. And then part of the issue on that, I think, was the grate on the north side of that building where all those air conditioners sat. I think over the years, those air conditioners settled slightly, which created a grade back down towards, so we had water running back towards the foundation of the building. Obviously, as we put new in, I'll make sure that that grade is updated to run all that water away. We'll remediate that problem in the future, and we won't have that issue.
Will we have to pour new pads there, or we'll be able to use the existing ones?
That's something I'm going to have to discuss with them because they've not gotten to that point yet. But if they pour the new pads, I'm going to suggest that they try and do it as one long run rather than
Exactly.
2 and 3 pads. Let's just do one long run. Let's make sure our water is all sloping back away. And then also with the thought that at some point, we're going to put a building out there for cars so that we make sure we keep enough space in between both buildings to have proper air movement too, so we don't overload our system.
Sure, sounds good.
And then the last one I have for you, because it wasn't on the agenda tonight, it's not an item you can make a decision on. But I will tell you, I've identified within the CIP money that I talked with Susie about, I've been working for the last month and a half on getting a furniture bid together. If you remember, I think we were 11,000 in here, something like that, for your furniture, Susie. What were you?
21.
21? Okay, so for the whole building up there, and this is some extra pieces, so, but for the whole building, it's 52 is where I've got it down to now. So I think I'm very reasonable on that. To get within the code, I may have to drop some of that down to get it under the 50,000 so we don't get to where we actually have to bid it out. But I'm at 52,000 now, and I think I can get that. Part of the problem is that pricing goes up by March 1st. So the order has to be received and accepted by Han by March 1st, which means my order date has to go in on the 23rd, which the next council meeting we have is on the 27th. So I guess my big question isn't make a decision on whether I do it or not, but is that something where you would have an objection if I continue on working on getting this furniture done?
So the thought process that Chief Niedert and I had there was that he could go ahead and place the order. We can put this on the agenda for the 27th so that we can get official approval from the council. If the council decides for whatever reason not to go through with it on the 27th, we can always cancel the order.
Sure.
Now, there may be some sort of exposure there, but it'd be smaller than missing the potential increase in price that's coming.
And my increase in price at 8% is what they've talked about, would be, excuse me, about $4,160. So there's a good cost savings there to try and move forward with it quickly. And I haven't gotten a chance to talk, but when it comes in, it comes in. So the one place I've identified that we could actually put all that material until we're ready to put into the building would probably be like to the Starlight Cinema or someplace like that where it'd be safe and dry, because that's going to be a lot. I did save some on that because last week I bought used furniture from Edward Jones, Mark McGarvey office. They had a used set of lobby furniture. For $150, I got about $3,000 worth of furniture. And it's all in really good shape, and it fits the color pattern and everything else, and that's already in my possession.
You're a bargain shopper, Dave.
I know.
No,
We all,
I had no idea.
little did we know.
Yeah.
I've also been trying to bid, I talked to Susie about this beforehand, on Bacchus Auctions to try and find a stainless steel table like they have in restaurants for in the back, which would go in our gun cleaning room. If I can find it, fine. If not, I'm not going to overpay for that. We can always look at that down the road. So I've got the money coming into the CIP out of the traffic camera tickets. I've also identified savings because we've got 2 other major purchases that are coming out of that this year. Will be the inset for the evidence intake. It's a one-way locker system. And then the other one is the interview room system. So both of those 2 together would be about $26,000. But I've also, like I told you before, I quit purchasing out of my CIP on some line items. So that's going to be pumped back in. So we're going to change that money around, and I may have to move some things for another fiscal year, but I'm trying to get everything done within that. It's kind of hard because I got this building after this year's budget had been set, And so I'm just trying to find that money within and not go overboard. Some of the other things we may have to do in the future is just do some window blinds and stuff like that that I'll find just somewhere within the budget once we get moved in. But other than that, that's the update on the building. Any other questions you have on that?
Dave, thanks for all your work on that. You've done a great job.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem. I feel like I'm building a house again.
Thank you.
Cheap on your water heater.
Thanks, Chief.
There's rebates out there right now, depending what you get tankless or not, depending who your providers.
So what we talked about on that going tankless versus one of the big things is because it's such a far run from one end of the building to the other on the tankless. And the vending system is set up, but they're gonna probably do, I think it's a 40-gallon, I'd have to look that up with the architect. I think it's a 40-gallon with a forced air vent system. And then that's guaranteed for so many years. That's kind of the other thing I've been doing is making sure that when we get something, if we can get the guarantee on it to where it's good to go. We've been doing that, but yeah,
I think they're available on both tank and tankless, depending on efficiency, so.
yeah, and we'll check with Light and Power on that. But we also save some money on like door handles and just some really small stuff that we saved that I didn't even tell you about now. I'm trying to save every penny we can and get that number under the 600 as far as I can before we get to the end of this thing.
Thanks again, Dave.
So my budget this year is gonna look really bad at the end of the year, but I'm really trying hard to make sure we come in under that 600. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, moving to 12, the closed sessions. I did verify with the city attorney the ability to legally enter into closed session for the record. For this record that we have, I need a motion to enter into closed session per Iowa Code 21.5, paren 1, close paren C, close paren, to discuss strategy with counsel in a matter that is presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent. First, I need the motion itself.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Callahan?
Yes.
Houston?
Yes.
Hannah?
yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Okay, closed session. Thank you.